Hi, I'm Tim Holick. Decided to do a series of these videos to help people understand things in life. We're going to be talking about our first gig here, about the inspiration, what inspires me, what could possibly inspire people. But I think, I wanted to go a little bit further for my writings that I do every day on Facebook. And I want to start to help develop people with their mindset, their goals in life, things that they could be doing that they don't think about. I find talking to different people over time, they sometimes don't know where they're going in their lives, and I just think it's a major thing in your life when you have a purpose going forward. It's what I've experienced all my life, so that's why I decided to do this.
Purpose seems to be a big thing. We've talked about this many times.
We have.
And you're talking now about the purpose of putting these videos together, a series of videos together. And I think that sitting here in front of the fireplace and you and I talking, as we often do.
We do a lot of that together.
We do, and I think that sometimes we get done with some of the 1 hour talks that we have, and boy, we should have had that on video, right? Because somebody might benefit from it.
Well, the funny thing is, we were good friends in high school, that's where we met.
Right.
And I think you started sophomore year.
Yep.
So 3 years together, we became good friends. We weren't really hang-around friends, but there was a space there. We only saw each other periodically in time when we were adults. And then, a few years ago, we got together on Facebook, quite a few years now, actually.
Right. Yep.
It's probably about 10.
Almost
8 to 10.
Yeah.
It's almost 10.
Right.
So, we found out in our lives that we had a lot in common, the way we think.
Yep.
We did maybe different paths, but, I was always amazed, Joe, at what you do know and what you do know about life. And I think that's a key to help you get through life with all the ups and downs it can be. And sometimes there's a lot of ups, sometimes there's a lot of downs. And
sure.
I know you've gone through your downs too.
Oh, absolutely. And I know a lot of people do. And the piece to that is, I go through my ups and downs, and you're saying, how much you know. And it amazes me how you're able to take that with me and a lot of other people and put that back to them with the inspiration.
Right.
When you talk about certain things or you write about certain things, you're bringing out feelings or pieces that are in somebody that they don't realize.
Right.
Next thing you know, you've written about it on Facebook on Monday through Friday, you're writing different posts, and people get something out of it. And they bring that forward, and it changes how you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because
It
it gives me more inspiration.
Right.
It gives me more inspiration to know that their mind, sometimes it takes quite a few times to keep hitting that head. It's happened to me all my time.
Right.
Some people say, geez, Tim, you're always up. I'm not always up. No. I have the same things in life that hit me.
Yes, you do.
I'm lucky. I have never had any serious illnesses, but I deal with illnesses. I deal with sleep apnea. I deal with back problems. I have bone density problems. I deal with things in my life.
Certain allergies you have of food.
Exactly.
And you're the foodaholic. It slows down your ability to want to take that next step sometimes.
So true.
So we all have issues. No matter how good you look at life, you have your issues too. And people need to understand that. They're not alone. And I think that that's what's really important about the inspiration that you bring out on a daily basis, is that they're not alone.
They're not. We all deal with stuff.
Absolutely.
It's how we handle it. And of course, I didn't handle it well at first. Remember when I started with Palace Kitchens almost 40 years ago? If something went wrong in the shop or with a job, I used to flip off the handle because I wasn't mature enough yet. Didn't understand how life went, how personalities went.
Right.
And I've learned in life that personalities is such a key thing for us to understand.
Sure.
For our interactions with other people. And I think that's what's excelled me to where I'm at. It's just the knowledge of personalities, which I probably didn't study personalities till I was like early 40s.
But that's what you see. But that's from collecting what you collected from the first 40 years.
That's right.
Especially the first 20 years of business. You're collecting out those thought processes on how you're handling, who you're handling, and customers can sometimes, or even better yet, potential customers can bring that out in you.
Right.
Kind of getting understanding who they are. And you and I had a conversation a while ago when I had a friend of mine looking to deal with some situations he had with his kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And you said to me, I want to call them up and I want to sit with them because I want to know where they're at, what they're thinking, and how they're feeling about this. And that was important to me when I sent you to my friend's house, because you weren't just going to sell them something.
No.
You wanted to know what it was that they wanted or they needed.
And that's a key in life. whether we're interacting together in a job, interact together on the streets as friends. You have to listen. Listening is the key part of life, and I was one of those ones that didn't listen as much. I always thought I knew. I was always thinking, as people talking to me, instead of listening, I was thinking to react.
Right.
And that's one thing, I lucked out like in the late 90s, my good cousin and godfather, Eddie Denton, who was the superintendent of schools at Bridgewater.
I remember that.
He taught me a lot. He introduced me to Stephen Covey. Stephen Covey set my mindset of how I should be thinking, and I think a lot of people have benefited from his writings, whatever he's talking about.
I certainly have. Absolutely.
So I was lucky that somebody introduced it to me, and I guess that's what I've been trying to do since then, is trying to introduce this stuff to other people to help them in their lives with their struggles. Struggles don't have to be bad. They can be just feel like I'm in a trap. I just work. I don't do much.
Right.
It really comes down to what is your mindset for your future, and I really think you need to set some goals. They don't have to be business plan goals unless that's where you want to go.
Right.
But just set some goals in your life. And I think Stephen Covey his writings is what inspired me to get going with that. And I noticed how I changed over time. I wasn't the easiest person to live with. I'm probably still not. But I have gotten
I don't
better.
think any of us really are, but you're trying to improve every day, and I think that's the piece that what brings us here.
Yeah.
Is every single day you write about pieces to get people to improve their life or their thought process so they can improve their life. So what inspires you, Tim? What is it that
Gets me to get up?
yeah, and then to take it to the next step where you're inspiring others?
I mean, inspiration can come from a lot of different things. I guess mainly inspiration comes to me. I like to create things. Even though I've always done that,
Yep.
I guess
Absolutely.
I was an entrepreneur, spirited person from the beginning. Probably.
I always thought so, sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that, but I guess over the years watching it, but creating things, whether it's a business, a project, I was a woodworker. I came out of school as a woodworker and I got into the trade right away with framing homes, office buildings, like that. But I like to create things. I like to have my mind thinking for that purpose of what I'm trying to go to, but inspiration comes sometimes just being a foodaholic and going out to restaurants,
Exactly.
being with other people, networking. People say all the time to me, how do you do so much? How do you get around so much? Well, it inspires me to be around other people. So networking is a key to my personality. I notice if I get away from networking for a while, my mood comes down.
Yep.
I need to be in front of people, and I think that's why sales in my business being kitchens, design and stuff like that. I'm around people. I'm helping them out. I'm creating for them, and that gives me a purpose. And I think everybody needs a purpose. So to me, to create things, I have to have a purpose first.
Sure.
What is my purpose? Whether it's something I want to start treating my wife better when I started changing my thought process from Covey, because we all can be hard. We can hard to live with, like you said. And I give myself that purpose, whether it's something like that or just going out. So, those two things inspire me. And I like to see people grow. I like to see them grow personally.
Right.
And I get my best feelings when I see people benefit from, what I talk about, or just being a friend with them and what they're gaining from watching. Because I've learned a lot in life just watching people. I've learned a lot just being around you.
And it's an important thing that people need to realize, that when you're around somebody, you mentioned your wife Nancy, and I know that you're around Gina and Julie and your grandsons, and just getting a visual of what they do and getting their feeling translates a lot of things for you. And then you take that the next day and you'll sit and you'll write about it. And often you'll say, you listen to a song, or you watch The Boys, or you and Nancy went somewhere, and you get an inspiration to talk about the next morning.
Well, that's where, acting like a kid again comes out as my grandsons. Being with them when they're younger, I mean, they're 11 and 12 now, but when they were younger, I was doing things I haven't done since I was a kid, playing Army Men.
Treasure hunt.
Treasure hunt, things like
hunts.
that. So I think that brings us to another dimension sometimes when we're too serious as adults, is to become a kid. You know, I find myself sometimes still at this age in the winter seeing a puddle that's iced up and going and crushing it. To hear the pop of it.
And it's a simple thing. But we've talked about your inspirations, and it all comes from simplicity. Now, you talked about Covey as being somebody that inspired you, but when you listen to Covey and you read Covey, again, it all comes down to simplicity. He doesn't make anything complicated.
No, it's all basics of life and how you should be thinking and doing things. And I think that's where people lose. You know, I've done posts where people says, well, that's the way I am and I'm not going to change, deal with it. You know, that is such an ignorant statement. When I say ignorant does not mean you're stupid or dumb.
No.
Ignorance is basically your mind shuts itself down, and you're not listening to maybe open that mind. Too many people are closed-minded. I've learned a lot just, you know, I grew up in a house of, there's four boys and a daughter, a sister.
Yeah.
And maybe thinking not male chauvinistic, but maybe somewhat that way. And then when I get married and moved in with my stepdaughter and my wife now, being girls, and we had a daughter, you know, you learn that there is another paradigm of life that you start to think more for the girls now than you would if it was a bunch of guys running, because you start to see what they go through and maybe what they challenge with. So you're more sympathetic. So that opened my mind. You know, they say, Covey says, anytime you change your life, whether you become a manager, get married, whatever, have a kid, your paradigms change.
They do.
And I learned that a lot just from, you know, experience and things. And then you start to understand that, you know, the way you treat others is what's going to happen to you.
That's what you're shooting for. It doesn't always happen, but then you have to go beyond that, because you can't control what other people do.
No.
All you're doing when you do your inspirational writings is offering it out there, whether people take it or not.
Right.
I find that when I read the comments afterwards, almost as inspiring to me as what I read when you write it.
Sure.
Because we talked about one person that you talked about that's going through a lot of things that many people don't have to face, and they get pieces from what you write every day.
Yeah, that's health, life and death stuff.
That's
I don't have that in my
No.
life. I have problems, but it's not life and death type stuff. Sometimes you think you might have it, and then you find out it's not. So we all go through that, but this person does, and she inspires me just from her, you know, inspiration she gets from the post, and then saying she's going to try harder and stuff. And I give her a lot of credit because it's not easy.
She'd be the first person that could give up, because she's got all the evidence to do that, but she doesn't.
She goes on,
She
and
uses,
the writing
she uses
sometimes helps her.
She uses inspiration to get through her day.
I get a lot of private messages sometimes. I've had people 2 years later say, you have no clue, Tim, how you've changed my life.
How's it make you feel?
It makes me feel great. You know, knowing that you help somebody else see. I always say that word. You see it in my posts.
Yes.
To be able to see. When you start to see things that you didn't see before, that's when life starts to change. Opportunities start to change. To me, everything in life is opportunity, and they're there in front of all of us.
Right.
It's if we choose to see them or not. When you open up your mind, you start listening more than talking, you start to see those opportunities. And, you know, you see what my life's been like in the last 5 years.
Sure.
Quite a few opportunities I'm taking advantage of. And, you know, a lot of people don't understand how I do all this, but it's just from the years of doing. And I'm a better delegator. I'm a better thinker now. I understand things better, so they become easier. And that's what I'm trying to, I'm just trying to change people's mindset at first. That's it, because that's all you got to do at first. You have to change your mindset.
You do.
You have to be willing to take in the universe and understand it better.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing I'm trying to do as a writer, to inspire people and hopefully lead to motivational type speaking, you know, which is where I want to end up.
And I think that, you know, you've already touched on it a little bit as doing some of the speaking, but you do it every day. You do it around us, you do it around your customers.
Right.
You do it when you're networking. You talked about networking, or you and Nancy going somewhere, be it even out to a restaurant.
Right.
And getting involved in a conversation with somebody you've never talked to before in your entire life. You talked about it last week on the show of tailgating. You've talked about going to a restaurant and meeting people that you've never talked to before, and you and Nancy start getting up a conversation. The subject was tailgating. Going to a football game and meeting people you've never met before, even if you went to another city.
Yeah, which we'll be doing this weekend.
Right, and making friends.
Yeah.
Because of the inspiration you're getting to do that. You're looking to go and open up your mind to their mind.
Traveling inspires me also. Because when you get to see other things that are new to you, and to me, I'm in the design world, so I could see something in a restaurant or a building I'm in, and it inspires and triggers my mind for whether it's something here at Wood Palace that I want to do, to give a better experience, or it's about somebody's kitchen or other room that we're designing. So traveling inspires me a lot. And again, I like to go out and about. I like to try different foods and alcohol and stuff like that. That to me is another inspiration, because I'm out and about and I feel like I'm creating because I'm learning.
You know, and that's the thing. Here you are being the inspirator, but realistically, you are learning because you're getting that feedback.
I'm a student too.
Yes, you're a big student.
Yeah.
And I've been out with you, and I've been out to dinner several times, and we've gone out, and I've seen you just talking amongst us, talking about this person that might be having a tough night, you know, waiter or waitress or something like that. And then you'll just say something really quick to them about having a good night or something, and change the look in their face. I've seen you do it, but I've also seen the look in your face change when you've done that. When they smiled or given you back a reply of, you know, the positive thought that you gave them, it made you feel better. And I've seen your night change. I've seen, spent time afterwards and you talked about it just a little bit, saying, did you see that? Did you see how that person was? Did you see how they changed after we talked to them?
That's right.
And that makes a big difference when people are struggling, because they're struggling doing day-to-day stuff, and all you did was stop and ask them a couple questions about life.
But life becomes numb to people.
It does.
We all get
It
that.
does.
I get in that point. I mean, that 2 weeks off this July and going to Italy was big for me.
Made a big
It
difference.
changed my whole mindset again. But I was
You made some
tired.
big decisions coming off of that trip.
I did. Some big changes and decisions in here and other things I'm doing. But you know, I needed a rest. And you know, I talk about what Covey talks about, sharpening the saw.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing this weekend. We're going to Chicago, and I'm going to go to a Pats game there too. You know, I need to sharpen the saw for half a week, because I've been working hard since July when I got back from Italy, working a lot again. So you have to still look for yourself and take care of yourself, because it's so important. Sometimes I abuse myself and I overwork, but I got to keep reminding myself that I need to take time sometimes to soften the edges and sharpen that blade.
Sure.
You know, and I've learned a lot with time about that, and I'm a better student of that now than I used to be.
You're a great student. I mean, I've learned from you, learning for yourself.
Yeah.
The different pieces that I've seen in the 4 years I've been here, and we're always learning.
Right.
And folks, when you stop learning, you stop living. And Tim, you said that 1,000 times, and I've seen you say it with people in the crowd. I've seen you say it to one of your customers, well, if I stop learning, I stop living, and it changes their perspective on what you are trying to do for them.
You know, and some people take living as a physical thing. You're not living at all, you're dying. No, you're dying inside,
Right.
in your mind,
Right.
because you're not going forward. You're not thinking. You're not listening. And you know, there's a lot to listen to in our life, whether it's to listen to learn or listen to hear, like a bird sing. I mean, I've gotten up in the mornings, and you know what I'm talking about. When you go outside, and it smells like fresh air.
Yes.
That's that smell you
It's
get.
the smell, the sounds.
Yeah, and it's like, my God, what a fresh air type day. It kind of inspires the soul
Yes.
to say, wow, you know, spring is here or something. Gives you that feeling of spring. And actually, some of those air freshener, those air conditioner things for homes, put that ions in the house. It smells like that.
Yeah.
Like fresh air.
Right.
You know?
Which gives you the fresh ideas. When you write, when you sit down in the morning, and I know it's early in the morning, and you're writing,
Right.
where do you start? And then how do you keep that going?
Basically, sometimes I do it at night, sometimes I do it in the morning. Sometimes it's just a thought, something that happened during the day. A lot of my inspiration comes from what happens and seeing other